Hi, Stefan. How are you?
Hi, Peter. I'm great. I'm actually great. I'm very honored for the invitation
Oh,
on
no.
your podcast. So
I'm very grateful that you took the time. Now,
I'm excited.
great. These are special times, Corona times. What does that mean for you? Are you living in fear? Because you're an entrepreneur. You actually started the business also in the middle of these Corona times. What is the impact for you?
Well, for me personally, and it seems a little bit weird to put it that way, I think the Corona crisis for me came at the right time
Okay.
because now if I look back at me before the Corona crisis, I feel like I was just running around too much, chasing
Okay.
too much things. And now it was like a period to calm down, to reflect on a lot of
Okay.
things, to evaluate things I was doing in the past, and also to grasp a lot of new other opportunities. Because yeah, you mentioned it, I started a new company during the Corona time, so that wouldn't have happened if there was no lockdown in Belgium. So on a personal level, I'm grateful. On a societal level, I'm a little bit worried about the impacts, both economically and socially, how we will recover as a society.
I mean, economically, I can understand that, but maybe socially, I mean, you just mentioned the word self-reflection. It's you're forced to stand still and to reflect what is actually giving you energy and what's your passion and what is
Hmm.
actually just bringing you money. And you can
Yeah,
also
definitely.
make money with doing your passion, of course. Eh?
Yeah.
But don't you think that, I mean, that we are never going to return to the old normal and that just like you, maybe this is the way to slow us a little bit more down and really to reflect and think what's really essential for us because people are dying, eh?
Yeah. Yeah, indeed, it puts everything in perspective. And the reason I said I was a little bit worried on a social level is, yeah, not for the people like me who use this time for self-reflection and who will come out stronger than they entered it. But I think there are also a lot of problems in society. And by the way, I'm a criminologist by education, so I'm always thinking
Okay.
from that that kind of perspective. I think there's a lot of people we don't think about right now that will have a certain impact of this crisis. I
Like
mean,
who?
people who are like in living in poverty,
Okay.
homeless people,
Yes.
we never hear about them in this crisis, so that's a little bit worrying to me. But I also think like you put people or families together in a house for a couple of months, there will be tensions with a lot
Yes.
of people.
Yep.
And I can imagine if, for example, you lose your job or you are just at home, unemployed on a technical, I don't know the word in English, lose it. I think there can be situations, and if there are deeper problems present with people, they can come out in this kind of period.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm a little bit worried about for the impact on people's life after this.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's yeah, we don't know the answer. Eh? We're going to see when because we don't know when it's going to be over. I mean, I'm also a musician, so I expect the summer and even the rest of the year. I don't think
Yeah.
personally that I will go to mass events myself, even during summer. To be honest.
No, indeed. I can't even imagine that I would walk into, for example, like a nightclub,
Yeah.
feeling comfortable
Yeah.
being around 100 people
Yeah.
all packed together in
Yeah.
one small room.
Yeah.
It sounds dangerous when I just imagine it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
that'd
Now
be strange to adapt.
you are 31. You said you studied criminology. After your studies, you immediately became entrepreneur.
No, so I indeed studied criminology. Why did I do that? Because at 18 years old, I didn't know what I wanted to do in life.
I know that.
Like most youngsters, I think. I started economics just because everybody was saying like that's a good degree. If you have economics, you can do anything you want. I was like, okay, let's do it. After 1 year, I really noticed that it wasn't my passion at the time, at that
Mm-hmm.
moment. So the business thing was nothing for me when I was 19 years old. And then I just yeah, spent some nights thinking like, what do I really like and what am I really passionate about? And I've always been passionate about crime. I don't know why, but I always liked crime movies. That's a cliche, but it was true. But I was also passionate about how society shapes people and how people behave in a society, either in a good way or in a bad way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I was like, okay, I need something like psychology, sociology, law was interesting. And in criminology, I actually found a little bit of all those disciplines.
Okay.
So that's why I just went for what was my passion at the time. And I never regret it to study criminology because it gave me a very broad background.
Yeah.
And I think also given the fact that I'm now in the business world and not in the criminology world, I think yeah. I think differently because I don't have a standard economics degree.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, because I had to let go a lot of these things that I learned because this can also limit your way of thinking.
Yeah.
Now, so, and then after your studies, you immediately became a kind of project program consultant, or?
Yeah, indeed. Well, I
Where
graduated
did you get
criminology.
that? I mean, I cannot imagine that you have your last beer, you throw away your codex, your I don't know, lint, and you say, "This is the real world. I'm
Yeah.
going to start my company. I'm going to deliver project management and program management consultancy services, and I want to become a COO or something within 2 years." How did that process work for you?
By accident. So I was, after finishing criminology, I was studying public management because it was like management. It started to interest me. And I was like, okay, as a criminologist, I can work for the government. I should study public management. So
Okay.
government management. I was bored after 2 months by just sitting in lessons again. And I
Okay.
had a friend who started a job as a project management consultant.
Okay.
He posted a job vacancy and I was like, okay, I want to make money. I'm tired of going to
Okay.
university.
Okay.
I applied and I got the job, and that's how I entered the world of consultancy, a world that I never have left until now, actually.
But I mean, project management, I'm thinking about Six Sigma or Waterfall or Prince 2. Did you study this kind of methodologies, or you were like, we'll handle it, let's do it, and we'll use our common sense, or how did that work?
Yeah, I learned that job, so they offered a lot of training, which was nice at the moment. And I'm also a big fan of learning by doing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not the kind of person that wants to lock myself up in my room and study 100 before I start doing something. I rather do something, fail at it, and just learn on the way and
Yeah,
learn on the
yeah,
job.
yeah, yeah,
So I'm
yeah.
a big believer in that, and I've always done it like that.
Okay, cool. Now, I mean, next to that, you also created something called EBBC and Moonshots. Well, first of all, what is the difference between the two? Because for me, that's not
Yeah,
clear.
yeah. Well, it all started with EBBC, and I call myself indeed a co-founder, but I should give all credits to a very good friend of mine, Colin. I don't know if you met him before. He was also at Peter Hinsen event. But a few years ago, I was looking to join a kind of network organization because I was like, okay, it's fine to do my job. I have
Okay.
my friends outside of my job, but I'm missing something to develop myself more as a person. So I started going to network organizations, and it's always struck me that it was just a boring presentation and some random handouts of business cards, but no real connections.
Yep.
Then I was like, okay, what do I like in life? And I was looking at my bookshelf and I was like, okay, I like reading business books. So that's a passion of mine. I want to share that with other people.
Okay.
And I had like the idea, a club for people who like business books. That would be something. I Googled it and I found a little website, which was called EBBC. It was just a few months old, and it was Colin, who I didn't know at the moment, who is now one of my best friends, who started something with 4 or 5 people on top of a restaurant in Zaventem, a pizzeria. So that was like 5, 6 people enjoying a pizza, discussing books, and I was hooked instantly. So I told Colin, like, hey, we should make this bigger than it is right now. We should make it a full organization worldwide. He had the same idea, so I joined his.
Wait, and EBBC, that's an abbreviation for, is that
Yeah,
European Book?
it's Entrepreneurial Business Book Club.
Okay.
So that's a mouthful, but the name says exactly what it is.
Yeah, and you can
Book
scale
Club.
global. So.
Yeah, indeed. The E also stands for European, or even it's more than European. But I'll get to that in a moment.
Okay, I was
So
interrupting you. Sorry.
at the moment, it was like 2017, I think. We formed a core team of 4 people: me, Colin, Kim, and Louise. And we just started growing it in Brussels. So it was very local in Brussels. We hosted events at the offices of the company I was working for, at other companies. And then we decided, because I was from Ghent, somebody else from the team was from Antwerp, and we were like, this is too good to just be in Brussels. We should be everywhere. So I went back to Ghent, started in Ghent. My friend Louisa started in Antwerp. And that was like the first expansion we did of the concept in Belgium. But to make a long story short, we are now also active in London, Amsterdam. Singapore was going to start up this week. Normally, I would have been in Singapore, but that's not happening for obvious reasons.
Okay.
Yeah, because of the lockdown, I can't travel anymore. So
Of
that's
course, of course. But
it's
you have
painful
things
to
like
talk
this, eh?
about it.
We have
But
things
things like
like
this
this, eh?
is also great. Yeah. So yeah, to put it short, we're now active in Europe, and we're starting up in Singapore, but also in Sydney. And the main concept is actually kind of simple. Like, we do a session once every month around a certain book.
Yeah.
Everybody who wants to attend the session has to read the book, or has to read a summary, or watch a podcast, whatever, just know the topic. And then we do a deep dive during a session, which does not include a boring presentation. It's like an interactive evening with post-its, flip charts, pitches, brainstorms, case studies, whatever. There's a lot of possible ways to do it. But it's a night where we all interact together on the topic of the book, learn from each other, pitch ideas to each other, get to know each other, make friends, make business. Everything can happen at these kind of EBC sessions.
Okay. It
So
sounds like it sounds like the business version of Temptation. And anyway, but
I think we have one couple, romantic couple, that was formed at EBBC.
Okay.
So yeah, it can happen. I see the similarity. Yeah.
But how did you then create some kind of chapter with values and a mission statement or something to make sure that your baby is everywhere a little the same? Because otherwise it's not EBBC anymore, because it's different people and people are not the same. So
yeah, definitely. And that was one of the biggest fears we had. We wanted to make an organization that is bottom up. So for example, if somebody in Toronto, in Canada, wants to start a chapter, we say, go, just do it. And we guide them to create it. So in that way, it's really scalable. We don't need to go all over the world to start up chapters. They can just pop up themselves. But indeed, 2 years ago, we had a brainstorm exercise at one of our apartments in Brussels, it was, I think, where we just wrote down different values that we ourselves found important of EBBC. And in every introduction we gave about EBBC, those values always came back. What were the values? Curiosity, entrepreneurship was one of the values. I think we had 5 of them, but I can't remember them all. What was most important in sharing that vision was our mission statement. Okay. And that is, reactivate your knowledge. And the why is between brackets, because it's our knowledge as a community, but also your knowledge as an individual who is joining those sessions. And we feel like that mission statement hasn't changed in years, because it's so good in describing what we actually do. We activate knowledge. You can read a book, you have information, you have knowledge if you apply it in the real world, but we should activate it in those sessions altogether.
I attended the special session in Antwerp at the Entrepot of Peter van Keer with Peter Hinsen for the launch of his new book, The Rise of the Phoenix, I believe it's called. I mean, I was amazed how many young entrepreneurs, I believe they were entrepreneurs, I mean, and the passion and the willingness they had to sacrifice a Thursday or a Monday evening, I don't remember anymore, just to listen to a writer explaining his business book and be really amazed. I was shocked, because I mean, is that every time like that, or was that because of Peter Hinsen a little bit more?
Yeah, well, I always say, or I say it a lot, writers are the new rock stars. Scientists are too. Like Yuval Harari, he's a rock star, I think, for our generation. Peter Hinsen was actually, that was a big event, because Peter Hinsen is actually one of the rock stars of Belgium, I think, in terms of business and entrepreneurship and innovation. He's like a guru.
Yeah.
Everybody knows him. Everybody read his books. Everybody wants to see him talk.
Mm-hmm.
We had like 100 participants, and the tickets were sold out in 2 hours, I think. So that was crazy. Never seen that before. So I'm very glad you joined that event. That was one of the biggest and baddest events we once had. But earlier you also asked about Moonshots, what
Yeah.
Moonshots
Yes.
was.
It was a
So
difference between the
that's,
two.
yeah, and it might be complex, but that was a Moonshots event.
Okay.
Now it's starting to get complex, I think. But we have EBBC where we do sessions on books without having authors there,
Okay.
without having experts. It's just us as a community
The dialogue.
who are the experts that are facilitating the session. Moonshots is it's a spin-off of EBBC and one of my passion projects. I think 1 year ago I was talking with Youssef Kobo. You might know him from A Seat at the Table. So A Seat at the Table, it's an organization you can compare to EBBC. And what they want to do is they want to put youngsters, mostly from Brussels, from a more vulnerable background.
Yeah.
They want to put them together into rooms with the
Yes.
biggest CEOs, politicians,
Yeah.
and so on.
Yeah.
So really a networking organization. And to some degree, I thought that EBBC and A Seat at the Table had the same kind of mission.
Yeah.
Like we want to empower people to become the best version of themselves. So it was kind of a no-brainer to host events together.
And
so we did
everybody is welcome, eh?
Yeah,
I mean,
everybody is welcome.
You don't, I mean, it doesn't matter if you have a degree or not a degree. It just matters that you have passion about reading business books or personal growth books, eh?
Yeah, so we had the idea, like we have the community of EBBC, that's one community. We have then the community of A Seat at the Table, that's a second community. And then you have, and I think you are part of that community, people who don't know EBBC, people who don't know A Seat at the Table, but that would also join these kind of events. So you have three types of communities all blending together in one event around a speaker. So that's called Moonshots, and that's like the events co-organized by EBBC and by A Seat at the Table, where we have a concept where we have keynote speakers. Like we had Peter Hensen, we had Geert Nuls, we had Koen de Leus from BNP Paribas, we had Peter de Keizer from Growth Inc. Yeah. So the concept there is, yes, it's people who wrote a book, but they do keynotes and we have an interactive discussion with those kind of people. So that's the Moonshots event series.
And that's all passion, it's all voluntary.
Yeah. So we work at EBBC with a membership fee, not to get filthy rich. That's not the goal. It's also impossible to get filthy rich of a book club. But we do it to create some kind of threshold. You have to be willing to sacrifice something, and that's a few euros every month to be part of this community. But it's indeed all a passion project. Like we're doing it now for 3 years. We didn't make money out of it, but I think I spent an awful lot of time on it, on evening, nights, during the week, on weekends, all together brainstorming. So it's just a passion that keeps us going. And for 3 years, I never had a moment where I was like, I need to stop this because it isn't making money. No, there's a no-brainer that I just do it just because of the passion. And also because that community is kind of a breeding ground also for other projects, other ventures, meeting other people and so on. So it has its value, definitely.
And because I also assume, I don't know, exact your role in the organization, but I mean, I heard the story of Laurence van, what's her last name, from Nextworks, how you approached her and that we have to send a text to her to thank her.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, I can imagine that you also acquire new skills, because if I see you as a project manager or program management, I mean, then you have to attract like people like Peter Hinsen. I mean, you're actually going to have to sell your organization because he has to drive from Oudenaarde in an evening, get back in the middle of the night to give a presentation to some youngsters. And did you also acquire these kind of new skills that you are not seeing in your job?
Definitely. I never had a sales job in my life, so I wouldn't say I'm a good sales guy. Okay. I don't see myself as a sales guy.
But you're selling something. You're selling something. Eh? You're selling the idea of EBBC because he's a busy guy. Eh? He has all these choices and options.
Yeah. So yeah, we do a lot of selling on all levels. Like if somebody new joins one of our sessions, we have to sell the concept to them in order to get them coming again, like the second time and the third time and the fourth time. So we sell to our members. We also sell to people we invite, like speakers, like Peter Hinsen, you mentioned. We also sell it online to people in new cities that say, hey, I want to be a part of it. There's also a selling process we have to do. So indeed, I think sales is one of the things I really learned at EBBC, which I never saw as just learning sales, because I feel like it came natural because it was a passion project. And I believe if you have a passion project, you are the best sales guy or woman
That's
in the
true.
world,
That's true.
because you're selling your own passion, your own dream. And if somebody sees a twinkle in your eyes, then you're a good sales guy.
Yeah,
So
that's you have to believe in it, and you have to be really passionate about it, and then maybe it just comes naturally, and you're in some kind of flow because you really believe in it. You really also believe that you're creating value for your members and also for that keynote speaker. I'm really sure that Peter Hinsen, when he drove home that night, that he was like, I have touched like 200 youngsters, their hearts. I mean, for a guy like him, it's great to have all the business guys, but I can imagine, because all the questions they asked were, these were not the typical questions that a 40 or a 50-year-old is going to ask. And
yeah,
I think that's for him very refreshing. And also it's a kind of, um, also something where he gets new ideas from.
yeah. Yeah, I think so, because I also noticed, and it was really wonderful to see. Like, and that's a fun story. Like, I made sure when Peter's keynote was finished, there was a taxi waiting for him outside.
Okay.
So I was like, "Hey, Peter, your taxi is here." And he was like, "Yeah, yeah, okay, I'm gonna finish up." But he just kept talking to everybody, answering questions, even taking notes. When young people of 18 or 19 years old were saying something, like he was really learning from these people, I had the impression. And he spent like an hour extra. His taxi driver drove away, kind of angry. We just called a new one, and he was just talking with people even when he was sitting in the taxi. So he was, yeah, it was very nice to see that he also enjoyed it,
Yeah,
talking to all these
yeah,
young
yeah,
people. And I think that says a lot about Peter Hinsen.
yeah, yeah. But also afterwards on the social media, he was really enthusiastic. And I mean, a
Yeah,
guy like him, I can imagine he's very busy. That I mean, I think it's really also. I mean, he ended the presentation with. I know it was during one of the questions. He talked about our formal education system and his opinion about it, and,
mm-hmm.
and you can see he's really passionate about the fact that he believes in technology, he believes in innovation, but he also believes that our current education system is not going to fulfill the needs of the new generation of innovation people, engineers, whatever.
Yeah,
And yeah, when somebody touched upon that question, yeah, then he started a really passionate monologue about that. So it fits together, because I mean, 18 years, 19-year-old people where he can influence. I mean, he was telling stories about his son or daughter who's around 14, 15. They're like, yeah, whatever, dad, cough. So
mm-hmm.
now something else. So you're a consultant, but during the Corona crisis, you started, I wouldn't call it a local initiative. You started locally by really helping local shops, local retailers, whatever that they are selling, to sell their stuff online, and you provide I would call it, gateway, and it works fantastic because I already bought a lot of things there.
Yeah,
Um,
sorry.
so so actually, I'm very happy, because for me it's an opportunity. I discovered stores or even farmers that I was not aware of. So where did you get that idea?
Yeah, so it was, yeah, I think all a coincidence. Like the lockdown happened. As a freelancer, I also saw some impact on my daily activities.
What
So there
what
was the
what what
fact
what,
that
what was the impact for you then?
well, I used to work, I was working 3 days, paid for an other organization. That was now limited to 2 days. So I
Okay.
had 1 day extra in a week. So that was one thing. Then I was like, okay, what am I going to do with that 1 day extra in the week? And well, fun fact, I live in Nazareth, so pretty close to Ghent. And I knew another entrepreneur here in Nazareth.
It's the backyard of Ghent, eh?
It's a backyard, yeah. The best part of Ghent, actually, less crowded. And I was just scrolling on Facebook, and I already had the kind of an idea like, the pizzeria, why wouldn't they do delivery service? And I had an idea like, I'm just going to call the pizzeria and say, hey, I have a company car. I have nothing to do at night. Let me deliver pizzas. So that was my first idea. Not the best idea, I think, looking back now. But then I saw Facebook, a connection of mine. I mean, we used to do a project together in the past. And he was like talking in some kind of group with freelancers. And he was saying like, yeah, local e-commerce platform for local retailers. That's something I'm interested in. And I just sent him a message like, hey, we live in the same neighborhoods. Let's talk. So we talked. We also brought in another person who was also living, I realize now, 500 meters from my own house. He's of my age. We have got the same kind of interest, but I never met him before. So the Corona crisis is actually bringing people together who never knew each other. And then it was the three of us in a Zoom call. And we were like, okay, local online, a local web shop for local retailers. Could that be something? In this crisis for our local merchants here in the city. So it started out as a complete charity idea. Another person joined, somebody from Ghent, Michel. So we were four, and we just decided to build a platform to just send out a mail to Unizo and with asking like, hey, we are willing to do this. Send this email out to all your merchants in Nazareth, and we'll see who responds. If nobody responds, okay, then it's a bad idea, then we won't do it. But the response was overwhelming. I think in one day we had 15 shops who wanted to participate on the project. So we just launched the platform. We onboarded those merchants, and now we have, I think, 25 stores online on lokalonline.be here in Nazareth. So we achieved that milestone after 2 weeks, I think. 1 week of preparing stuff and then 1 week of going live. We have sales every day. We have new customers every day.
I mean, when you started something, because I worked in several startups, I have a sympathy. Somebody taking the risk to start a venture. So I was like, yeah, and it's nearby. I'm going to buy eggs, fresh eggs. I mean, come on. I mean, I don't want those eggs with all that water. No, I want fresh eggs for the farmer. And for me, it worked perfect because I wanted to see how the platform works and the transaction and everything, and it works perfectly. Even today, I got a mail. You can pick up the eggs there because it's a low transaction, a low value transaction, which I understand. So I have a reason then to leave the house. So what's next? Expand over the complete Belgium?
Exactly. So we launched Nazareth, and after 1 week we were like, okay, this is nice, Nazareth, it's one thing. And then we started thinking about expanding. So what we did, we put out a call to action on LinkedIn, like, hey, we have this platform in Nazareth. Nazareth is only one little village in Belgium. If you're interested to have local online in your city, shoot in my DM, let's talk. And that's how we now got 7 people. We call them local chiefs. So they are chiefs of a city that are actually starting up local online as we speak in different cities.
Okay.
We have Ghent, Hasselt, Genk, Grimbergen, Waregem, Deinze. Okay. So all over Flanders, in all provinces. And they are now reaching out to merchants, setting up Facebook pages, Instagram pages, to just have the same concept all in Belgium.
But it's no longer a charity model.
Well, that's also something that changed. After like 2 days of brainstorming, as a co-founders, we were always interested in e-commerce. And we also were wondering, like, why should we go to platforms from big companies from other countries? And why is it so hard to put on an e-commerce ecosystem in Belgium? We then also realized, like, this lockdown situation, if you look on Facebook, you have all these hashtags, buy local, call to actions by Unizo, by the government, by everybody. So the momentum is here. The consumer really starts to appreciate his local retail, which was never on top of minds before this lockdown crisis. So our minds also shifted a little bit. And now we are thinking like, okay, we believe we can build a company out of this,
Yeah.
a profitable company that is providing local retailers within their own web shop without them having to invest a lot of their
Yes,
time and
that's the
effort
problem, eh?
and technical developments.
And
So
and
that's the
also
biggest
and
problem we try to solve.
yeah, because some of them have one, and it's a big investment. You have to maintain it. You have to also have people who are going to maintain that. And a lot of them also forgetting that you have to advertise, do marketing, SEO, SEA, all the things to really make sure that the population knows your platform.
Yeah,
Now,
indeed.
I mean, I'm going to switch to another question. Who are for you role models that you admire? It can be in project management, it can be like writers, it can be, I know, business executives. Is it like the Elon Musks of the world? Who are the people that you say, I mean, this is my role model. I want to, I wouldn't say become like him or her, but this is really for me, which
Yeah,
keeps, inspires me.
yeah. Well, it changes a lot, my role models.
Now,
Like if you would ask me this question a few years ago, I would have said Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg, like the
mm,
typical
mm.
kind of cliche startup gurus.
And why? And why?
Um,
Because they make lots of money, or why?
no, not because of the money, but because they start with a vision.
No.
And if you look back at it, like the vision for Facebook, if you pitched it to people 20 years ago, everybody would just say like that's a fantasy, but
Yes.
nobody needs it. But those kind of people just had the persistence to actually transform their vision into reality
Yes.
and also convince people that they need Facebook. So that's something extraordinary for me. If
Mm-hmm.
you can create a new market that didn't exist before, like Steve
Mm-hmm.
Jobs did for Apple or Elon Musk is doing for electric cars and even
Mm-hmm.
rockets
Mm-hmm.
flying to the moon. So that's something I appreciate in those kind of people. But again, that would be my answer a few years ago. If my answer today, it's more like people who, and I think it's a criminologist in me talking now, people who start with focusing on making the world a better place
Okay.
and doing that by creating sustainable business models.
Okay.
So not really people who just start a charity with money from the government.
Yep.
I mean that's okay, but I think we can be more creative than that. And I'm more talking about social entrepreneurs. So people who want to solve a need for society by creating a business that actually can be profitable and self-sustaining. Because I think that's the key to creating
Do you
um, a
do,
sustainable business.
do you know Scott Harrison?
The name rings a bell.
That's a guy who used to was a very successful entrepreneur, but he was filling some kind of void in himself. He was dating like models and having a really rock star life, but
Yeah,
he was like, there's something wrong here. So he left everything behind and he started a company, not to make money, but his mission
yeah.
was, I want to solve the water problem in Africa. So
Mm-hmm.
what I'm going to do, I'm going to ask all the big corporates like Samsung and things like that. And I'm going to ask them for sponsorships. With that money, I'm going to fund my people, and we're going to actually I'm going to create water dwells so that the people in Africa are having water. And now he's like a rock star because like Will Smith is helping him, for instance. And now he has another project where he wants to solve the hunger problem. So and it's about and it's really moonshot thinking. I mean, to
Yeah,
really use the Peter Diamandis term, it's really like there are like 1 billion people, I don't know the exact amount, are who don't have water, and now he's like, he already provided 400 million people who have access to clean water. I
yeah.
mean,
Is
and
it?
the business model is really about fundraising, but he does it in a very commercial. He has written a book. It's called Water. I mean, and he has done a lot of podcasts, and he's selling his thing, and it's a company.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's an amazing project. And I think I saw him on a web summit in Lisbon. I went there in October, and there was like a panel about water with also Jaden Smith, so Will Smith's son.
Yeah,
I think it's the same company they
yeah,
have together. He's also involved in it. But that's really a great example of the kind of entrepreneur I just described. One of my
and
personal heroes.
yeah,
Yeah, go ahead,
yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah. But one of my personal heroes there is, maybe you know her, Lila Jenna. It's an American entrepreneur, and she passed away a couple of months ago. She was young. She had cancer, I think. But what she did, she made an observation of the world, and she said, like, charity isn't working to lift people out of poverty. People in poverty only need one thing, and that is work. If they have work, they have an income. They can fix their house. They can feed their families. Everything starts with work. And what she did, she started at the time a non-profit called Sandu Source that is actually just giving work to people in India and Africa. What kind of work? She goes to big software companies that have software that needs to be tested, but that can be tested in a kind of easy way.
Yeah.
And she then employs people in India and Africa to test the software, get them an income, and raise them out of poverty. It started as a non-profit, but then of course her customers are big software companies. They have money, so there was a lot of revenue. And then she switched the company from a non-profit to a for-profit company without
Yeah.
hurting the big cause behind it.
Yeah. Where did you get that passion for improving the world? Because I find that so admiring. Because I really believe you can make lots of money. I mean, as a company, and having really changing the world. And I think, to be honest, companies after Corona should only focus on that. They should really think
Hmm.
about their impact on our society.
Yeah. Where did I
Where
get
did
the
you get that?
passion
Is because
from?
of your
I
parents or your brother or where did you get that?
No, not really. I don't know. It was on my mind when I was growing up, always. It was also the reason why I chose for criminology.
Yeah.
So also to help improve society. I don't know where I got it. I just feel like everybody has a responsibility on this planet.
Okay.
And of course, we can live our own life and focus on ourselves.
Yeah.
But I think if you want to, yeah, have a life that is fulfilling,
Yeah.
you have to serve other people,
Yeah.
because we as humans,
Yeah.
we are social beings.
Yeah.
And everything we do, even if, like, for example, if I shave my hair, I'm doing that for other people because
Yeah.
other people will notice it. So everything we do for ourselves, we do for other people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think if you want to be fulfilled, you also need to empower other people.
Yeah.
Also the reason why I'm in the EBBC, because
Yeah.
I like empowering people.
Yeah.
Also the reason why I liked the Moonshots project with a
Yeah.
seat at the table, because they empower people.
Yeah. Do you believe that all people are good, but due to certain circumstances, they become bad, like the movie The Joker?
To some degree, yes. I mean, I think there are people, and it's all a question about nature versus nurture. I
Mm-hmm.
think most people are born the same, not
Mm-hmm.
good, not bad. But I do think the environment you grew up in or you live in has a big impact on you as a person. For
Yeah.
example, I believe that if you are a young boy and you grow up in a rich family, or you grew up in the streets of Brussels
Mm-hmm.
in a more impoverished environment, the same kind of kids will turn out completely different.
Yeah.
And also, I'm a firm believer, like, and that's the criminologist talking again, like, people in jail are not just bad people. The things they did that were bad, that's actually only one aspect of that kind of person. For example, you have, like, people who break into houses. Those people can also be good people to their mother, to their friends, to their grandmother. So everybody has good things and has bad things.
No.
I think in some circumstances, the bad stuff just, yeah, comes out and becomes dominant. But I think there isn't something as a good person versus a bad person.
No.
Of course, you also have people who are just mentally ill, like psychopaths or sociopaths.
Mm-hmm.
That's another discussion. But I think most people are just not good and not bad. They are just shaped by the environment and by their experiences.
Yeah. I can. Yeah. Interesting. Now, yeah, you lead a book club. Give me your top three.
My top three. Well, actually, I was hoping for this question. I have them right here.
Okay, don't call the Playboy or something. Eh? I mean, a real book. Eh?
No. You see, I'm totally prepared for this kind of session,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But my top three, it changes a lot. And I'm gonna start with one of my all-time favorites. It's Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. He's the founder of Nike.
Learning.
This is his autobiography,
Yeah. Okay.
and it actually reads like a fiction book. And it's
what,
just Phil.
what is so the most important lesson that you learned from that book?
Well, for me, the biggest lesson was when you think about Nike, you think about somebody who had an idea when he started about building the biggest shoe brand in the world.
Okay.
It turns out when you read this book that Phil Knight, he was a runner. He was not a good runner, but all he wanted to do in life was run. So one day he decided, like, my knee is hurting. He had an injury. I can't run anymore. What can I do that is as closely related to running? So he just wanted to be involved in the running world.
Okay.
And that's when he decided to experiment with creating shoes and importing shoes for Japan. And by accident, he founded the biggest sports brand in the world. It was never its plan. So for me, the main takeaway is nobody has a plan.
Cool.
Steve Jobs probably didn't have a plan. Phil Knight didn't have a plan. I also don't have a plan. And these books make me at ease because it's like, okay, I don't need a plan.
Yeah,
The universe will work.
I also believe that. I mean, I think you should follow the path that gives you passion and gives you positive energy. And then the path itself will unfold. And then just day after day, and suddenly you're running the biggest sports company in the world. That's number one. Number two?
Yeah. Number two, it's also a business book. So 2 out of 3 are business books. And it's The Hard Thing About Hard Things.
Okay.
It's written by Ben Horowitz. He's actually a typical Silicon Valley entrepreneur and also an investor. And this book is covering all of the bad stuff that can happen when you start your own company. Okay. Why did I pick this book? Because now being an entrepreneur is kind of a hype, and everybody wants to start a company because it's cool and it seems nice. You can have a ping pong table at the office.
Yeah.
This book is just describing all the bad stuff that can happen. It covers topics like, hey, you hired your best friend and now you have to fire him.
Yes.
But he's still your best friend. What are you going to do?
Yep.
There's no answers to that question.
Yep.
And that's really an eye-opener and also a kind of realistic look into a world that is sometimes too much hyped. It's not all fun. People are losing money. People are losing their houses because of their fail. So what I do think I do believe that everybody in life should try at one time to create something like EBBC, for example, or just try out a passion project and see, is it something for me or is it not something for me? And then you know it also. But I don't believe that everybody should and could start a company. I mean, that's madness. That's going to hurt people and people lose lives by that kind of mentality. So
when I hear you, I feel that you enjoyed the journey, the process of growing, and you don't know where there is no destination. So it's always a journey, and that you really enjoy every step of the way because it makes you grow as a person, also as a professional person, and you're gaining skills and also meeting new people to see where your limits are. And that's the same for me. There are no limits. The limits are here in your head, in your mind.
Yeah, exactly. Like I always start like new projects I'm doing. I start them because I'm like, hey, this is interesting. Okay, somebody else find it interesting. Let's see if we can find another person who thinks it's interesting. And for example, all my projects or ideas I'm working on, they all start without a business model. They just start with, hey, I like this topic. I can do something for those kind of people. Let me just try it.
Yeah.
And sometimes there is a business model, like there could be with Local Online. Otherwise, we don't need the business model because we just like doing it, like with EBBC. Okay. So you have to like what you're doing, and otherwise you just have to stop it. Doesn't make sense to...
That's correct. I have a question in my head, but you still have a third book, I believe.
Yeah. Yes, hold that question.
Yes.
The third one, and this is my lockdown book. I just read it, finished it 1 week ago. Status Anxiety in English by
Alain de Botton. This philosophy, of course I know him.
Yes.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Of course, this is more in the personal development space. He's a great TEDx talk, by the way, also. Great speaker also.
Yeah, and I picked up this book. I ordered it when we were already in lockdown because it covers like a topic I'm suffering from as a person, but I think society is suffering from: status anxiety. We always want to compare ourselves with other people, and we want to be the best possible version of ourselves so we can be better than other people. And we just are a society of people that just want to impress each other with no rational reason behind it. And this book really goes into the topic like, For example, if you were poor in the Middle Ages, you weren't jealous of the people who are living in the castles and were filthy rich, because you had the feeling, this is my place on earth. God made it this way.
Yeah.
So why would you be jealous of another person um, when you can't do anything about it? And then they just go through history, and then it's mostly in the Industrial Revolution, like capitalism comes up, and then the belief in society is like everybody has the same chances and opportunities. If you're rich, it's your own. It's by the work you have done. If you're poor, it's your own fault
Yeah.
because you have the same chances
Yeah.
as the rich people. Yeah, and I think to one degree it's human, because we as humans, we are social animals, so we want to be well liked and we want to be a valuable part of the community we live in. But it's sometimes going to extremes. Like for example, one of my biggest experiences this lockdown. Like I'm the kind of person who has a lot of FOMO, the fear of missing out.
Yeah.
So for example, I like just to spend sometimes a weekend just by myself, reading books, doing things I enjoy, without going out or having drinks with friends or with colleagues or whatever. But in a normal time, I never have those kind of weekends because I always feel like I have to be there. If the
Yeah.
party is going on, I have to
Yeah.
be there. If these three friends are meeting up, I should also be there. And what I noticed now, like my weekends now, they're quite empty. I read a lot. I work in my garden. I truly enjoy it, and the FOMO is gone. And why? Because I know that everybody in the whole wide world, from the US to Saudi Arabia to China, is also just in his own house without going to parties. So I'm like, whoa, I really enjoy this. And the FOMO is gone. And now I can truly enjoy this. I'm not worrying about what other people are doing. I just started like a week ago with putting my phone on the airplane modus when I go to bed. But otherwise, it was always on. I wake up, I grab my phone, I check Facebook and Instagram
Yeah.
and LinkedIn to see
Yeah.
if anybody needed me. Most mornings, nobody needs me, but I still do it every morning. So that's like it rules our day.
And if you look at the top performers in business, if you look what they are doing in the morning, they have all these morning routines. Get up at
Yeah,
5 or whatever, and it's all some kind of combination of sports, exercise, and some kind of sitting still or meditation or whatever they want to call it, or yoga, or just looking out of the window. I believe it was Warren Buffett. I don't know who it was. He was just looking for 20 minutes, looking out of the window.
crazy.
I mean, then there is no LinkedIn, and you can, because then you can really focus what I'm really going to do today, or I'm going to survive, and I'm going to be in a kind of reactive um, autopilot modus where things are happening to me, and I have to react to that. eh? And that's a very
Yeah,
different way. Otherwise, you're doing always the same things.
yeah, definitely. And I've always been struggling with that kind of. I know why it's good, and I often don't do it. Like for example, now I have like a daily call every day because I'm working from home. I sleep until 15 minutes before the call. I wake up, get some coffee, dive into the call, but I'm diving into reactive mode because I
That's it.
didn't spend an hour thinking or strategizing or planning my day. I know I should do it, but I most of the times I don't. Also because I don't have a feeling like I'm actually struggling because of that behavior, but I know I would do more valuable things if I would do it.
Stefan, these are all fantastic stories. What is for you a failure or a lesson that you learned throughout the years of your 10, 12 years that you worked, that you said, this is for me, I wouldn't say a hard one, but because I learned mostly through my failures.
Hmm.
Because,
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that question today, and I have the feeling, and I think I'm quite lucky that I can say that I didn't have any big setbacks in life
okay,
yet.
you're
Like
lucky one.
professionally, of course, you sometimes fail at something, you try again. But I never I've had the feeling like now I fucked up and now I have to recover
No.
from this. So I think I'm kind of lucky too that I can say that. So I went looking into my personal life for examples. I think at one point, and I was working for 1 year, I was also in a long relationship back then with somebody. And for a year, I was really like, I was completely settled down. I just went to work. I came home, I ate, I watched television all night, went to bed, and did that for 5 days a week.
Okay.
And then the weekend, I just did random things with friends. And suddenly I stopped doing that because I was not happy. I was gaining weight, I was bored, but I didn't know what could make my life better. And that's when the period started, when I also joined EBBC and started doing other things and experimenting with things. So I think for me, that was a trap to become complacent and not hungry anymore, and just not just being boring. Actually, I was kind of boring at the moment. So I think that was one of my biggest lessons
Yeah.
on designing a life that I truly enjoy, and not just doing like a lot of people are doing, just going to work, counting down until the weekend, and watching television shows.
Binging Netflix.
Yeah,
But right
I
now,
still
I mean,
do it, but focused.
yeah, of course. But now you sound very on fire and with a lot of passion. So I assume that you at that time you didn't have that.
No, because I was working my first job, and I didn't really know did I like it or what would I like. I also think I'm the kind of person who is like a late blossomer. Is that a word?
Yeah, I know what you
I
mean. Yeah.
think so. Yeah, I was it as a child. Like it always took me some time to get used to certain situation, or to I think as a child I was often a little bit behind, not intellectually, but like
Yeah.
emotionally on my peers. And I think I also had it to some degree when I was growing up. Um, and that I'm now more confident than like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
For example, now I'm not really taking risks, but I'm putting myself out there with this idea.
Yes.
If I would have done this 5 years ago, I wouldn't do it because of the fear like, what if people think this is stupid or I'm stupid?
Yeah.
So that's something that was holding me back then. And that's, I
But
think, one of my biggest lessons too.
when I saw you speaking at in Antwerp, you had lots of confidence in a positive way. Yeah, you were not arrogant. I mean, when you spoke to the audience, I was like, yeah, you radiated lots of confidence. Yes.
Yeah,
So
I also enjoy doing it.
yeah, but
I
that's it.
discovered,
Eh? It's not
yeah, I
like you were
discovered
thinking what
that
they're going to
when,
say about me. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's also strange. I call myself an introvert, but
Mm-hmm.
even as a kid, I was introverted, but I liked giving presentations.
Okay.
I think to one degree because an introvert likes situations that can be controlled, and when you're on the stage, you control what is going to happen
Yeah.
because you know what's on the next
Yeah.
slide and what you're going to say, and everybody's
Yeah.
just listening. So to some degree, I always liked it, and I like it even more as I get older. So
Who are you with Stefan within 10 years?
it's a hard question.
It
Um,
is.
yeah, like I said, the book about Phil Knight from Nike, he didn't know. I also don't know. I have no idea. There can be different
But
futures. I can,
maybe you say, I want to become a CEO of a middle-sized company, for instance, or something. Or I want to do some voluntary work all around the world, or I want to recreate an impact for the world with my ventures.
yeah. I think it would be vague. First of all, yeah, I want to be happy. That's one thing. In 10
Okay.
years, I will be happy. I will do something with impact. But to say like I want to be CEO of a SME that has impact, I don't know if being a CEO of an SME will be the right thing to do at the moment. I don't know. It can be making impact by
Yeah.
volunteering, or it can be by still working on the local online. Who knows? Or
Yeah.
EBBC. I don't know.
That's a great
But I
answer,
just
man.
want, yeah, I think I want the impact and the happiness for myself and just my loved ones around me. If I have that in 10 years and some money to pay off the bills, yeah, I will be happy, I think.
These are very wise words, because when I had your age, I was not thinking like that. That's very wise words. That was very wise. I mean, you have now a EBBC, you have Moonshots, you have localonline.be, you have your consulting also. What's next?
Well, now I'm also, because of the lockdown, I'm reflecting a lot. So now I'm really starting to discover like, what am I doing until now, and what are the things I want to continue doing after this lockdown.
Okay.
But all the things you mentioned are passion projects, and I want to continue doing them. So they will probably not disappear, all of them. But I really, really discovering like, what is the one thing I will put all my energy
Now,
behind.
if they put a gun
And
against your head, what is the one thing?
yeah, I would say for the moment it would be local online projects. That would say, okay, I want to spend all my time on that one, see where it goes, see if it becomes profitable and desirable for the customers and the merchants. But yeah, I'm also thinking like, I used to go to a lot of events. Like, will I continue doing that after this lockdown?
No.
I used to go to a lot of drinks because of the FOMO, of course.
Yeah.
Will I do that kind of things after the lockdown? So it's more of little things I won't do again to make sure I can devote all my energy to the things that matter in life.
But you
But I'm
don't
still
have.
figuring it out. I
Yeah.
still have time, I think. We're in it for a few extra weeks, so
You can reinvent yourself every day. It's just who you
yeah,
just wanted
true,
to be. So I mean, I
true. I
never thought
started I
to.
started with the hair.
Yeah, but I never thought that like 2 years ago I was going to do a podcast or even do YouTube videos. I was like, you're crazy. So it's just now. Last question,
Yeah.
because I normally take 1 hour and we're already over it, but I really like the conversation. So, and I don't want smooth. I like the raw, unedited, authentic stuff. Now,
Yeah.
what is still a crazy dream for you to do or to be? I mean, is it traveling around the world? Is it playing in a movie? Is it what is still like a crazy? I mean, for me, it's like if Chris Martin is going to call me to play guitar tomorrow, I'm gone.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
he has a fantastic guitar player and they have great chemistry. But
Well, one thing on top of my mind is playing at the big techno party as a DJ. And
like
that's really
Tomorrowland or
Moonshots.
something.
Yeah, or the Compass Club in Ghent, or like a really dark techno place.
Okay.
Um, because also a lockdown project, I'm learning how to DJ. Never done it before. I just started 2 weeks ago and I still suck. But it's always been kind of a dream. Like, the magic of being a DJ is something appealing to me. So that would be like a bucket list material. Even if it's for a crowd of 20 people who just enjoy the music, it would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also have a big admiration for like producers. I'm a big hip hop fan also,
Yeah.
but I watched a documentary on hip hop producers, and they just spent hours digging to old records,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
vinyl
Yeah.
records,
Yeah. 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 James
hours to
Brown.
find,
Yeah.
yeah, to find 2 seconds, and then you see what they did with it, and they
Yeah.
created the biggest hip
Yeah.
hop hit in
Yeah.
years
Yeah. Yeah.
with
Yeah.
just that sound. That's
Yeah. Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's creativity. Those are artists.
So Stefan, I'm going to put the links below where the people can find you about yourself, about your projects. Thanks a lot for your time, your passion, and I'm very sure we'll meet again soon. Yeah, physically when it's allowed, of course.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, and take care.
Yeah,
And I wish
thanks a lot
you
for
lots of
hosting me.
success. And I wish you a lot of success and a pleasure following your passions and your dreams.
Likewise. All right. See you soon.
Yeah, bye bye.